Cardinals shut out the Yankees today, 4-0. There were some real highlights. First of all, Cardinals 6-4 this spring, 3-1 on the road, and a lot of really impressive performances today. We'll start with the pitching side since they got a shutout. Jake Woodford, 4 innings, 3 hits, obviously no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Is the analytics department angry? I wonder if they're upset by this. Are they, it's a weird thing. When he pitches well, I'm not sure how many people in Cardinals organizations are happy. As crazy as it sounds. It's just, I'm reading these roster predictions and everything, and, there's no chance he's going to start. And, he maybe a spot in the bullpen. What exactly does he ever do wrong? So I get on a rant early, but everyone knows this is kind of like an obsession of mine. But at least I obsess over a guy that does really, really well but doesn't get the respect over it, and it is truly bizarre given the Cardinals' pitching problems. So I'll repeat my favorite stat, and of course you won't read this or hear this anywhere else. Since September of 2021, among Cardinals pitchers that have worked 77 innings, Jake Woodford has the best ERA on the team at 2.34. And in those 77 innings, this pitcher who apparently just has all these flaws according to the analytics department, he's allowed 1 home run in 77 innings in which he's pitched a little more than 300 batters. But it seems like the Cardinals prefer 27,000 other pitchers. Intentional exaggeration before turning to Jake Woodford. I hope the analytics department, after seeing this today, I hope they didn't smash up any of their equipment, right? I really hope that they didn't do any damage out of rage. So, this is just beautiful stuff. Anyway, the other notable pitching performance, Zach Thompson goes 1 inning, clean sheets, 2 strikeouts. Offensively, how about Mr. Power? How about the new Matt Carpenter? Brendan, as in Matt Carpenter when he was good. Don't have a coronary episode. Brendan Donovan, 2 for 3 with a 3-run homer. He's now got 3 home runs this spring. And after, adjusting his swing to get more elevation on the ball and maybe hit the ball harder, he's hitting .696 this spring, and I mentioned he's got 3 home runs, and his on-base percentage is still fine. .360. He's hitting .304. It was really funny to read my friend Ben Frederickson's chat yesterday. And at least in the chat, there's just a number of Cardinals fans who are like fretting over this. Well, why is he changing things? It's going to mess him up. I don't get it. He is not going to turn into a free swinging, one-dimensional, one-trick pony, okay? The guy's a really polished hitter who's got a great knowledge of the strike zone. But the one flaw is that, yeah, he could hit for more power. That would be the desire. But he's smart enough to figure out how to do that without destroying his swing. And he's proven that this spring. Can everybody relax? Like even when there's something very, very positive, can everyone just relax a little? Oh, now he's hitting home runs. Why do they have so many sluggers? Oh, man, I love it. Also today, Jordan Walker, 2 for 4 with an RBI. He's now hitting .429 this spring. He's got a .857 slugging percentage, but, man, he hasn't hit a home run since when? Sunday? Wow. Is he ready? Does he need more time at Double-A? Okay, just kidding. Mason Wynn, who is having just as dynamic of a spring as his best friend, Mr. Walker. Mason Wynn today, 1 for 3 with 1 run and a stolen base, his third of the spring. He's hitting, this young man who's 20 years old, same as Jordan Walker, 389 batting average, 476 on base percentage, and a 611 slugging percentage. I actually think this is relatively speaking, Jim Hewer, because I know that Mason Wynn's gotten a lot of attention in general. But in terms of how he is just ripping it apart offensively down in Jupiter or down in Florida with these kind of numbers so far, and he shows no signs of slowing down, I would maintain that because of Jordan Walker, and I understand why Walker's getting a lot of attention, but I would maintain that Mason Wynn is, again, relatively speaking, somewhat overlooked down there in Florida as far as the reaction to what he's doing.
Yes, and I think part of it, and this is just certain people looking at it and go, well, there's no chance he makes the roster because DeYoung's here. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's fair, but I think that's why. But your point, I agree with you. Watch not all the game today, but when I could, he turned a double play. He showed that arm again, and you're like, gee whiz, if he does this, why can't he play here? I mean, it really looks more and more like he is pushing his way here. DeYoung had an 0 for yesterday, and I don't know. I'm starting to go, I think people need to start paying attention to him here because he is, the more you watch him play, the more you go, I don't know why he can't play here right now. He does everything well. Stealing bases, by the way, too. Going to be part of the game now, and he's got another one today. Made it look real easy against Garrett Cole on the mound doing that. So
I know that's a good point. It was Garrett Cole because I didn't even mention that. So thank you for that. So no, I don't know. I mean, pragmatically, I've just come to accept that Paul DeYoung could hit 093. He's still going to be on the roster this year because the Cardinals just simply cannot, A, admit to a mistake in the contract, and B, they just can't bring themselves to eat that kind of money, $9 million. So this is nothing more than payroll politics, and we have seen it before. They will do everything they can to justify keeping him. Well, he's a hell of a shortstop, and we need that. We need someone that can play great defense, and Paul's really good. And Paul is really good defensively, except he can't throw.
That's the problem right now.
Can't. So far this spring, he can't throw. He literally isn't throwing. So,
if he can,
and he's hitting. I don't know what he's hitting now, but he's down. He's down around 200 or so. And he did not. I don't believe he played today, but I could be wrong about that. Let me check.
Not.
No, they didn't because Wynn played. Sorry.
Right.
And here's the deal. Wynn, I think, can be. Maybe he will be a little raw defensively at first because he's so young. But there's no question that in terms of his defensive ability and his range and his arm and everything else, I mean, he's got a chance to be a really special shortstop. And so that kind of repudiates this. Well, we really need Paulie defensively. He's really valuable defensively. Well, get back to me on that when he starts to actually throw a baseball down there.
Yes.
We can revisit that, I guess. But, again, pragmatically, when you got Edman at shortstop who's going to play all the time, and you've got Gorman and maybe Donovan as part of the two primary guys at second base, and you don't want to give up on, Gorman just yet, but Donovan can play a lot of second because you got outfielders galore. I don't know how much Mason Wynn would play. The Cardinals they're not prepared to commit to him as like a full-time player or whatever. The math doesn't work. And so, yeah, if we're just talking about pure talent, he would be the desired backup over Paul DeJong when we're talking about infield reserve strength. But I don't think they want him as a reserve, at least not early on. I do think there's a Mason Wynn. If he's having a really good year at AAA, now maybe I'll be stunned. Maybe they'll say he's just been too damn good this spring. We got to take him north. Okay, great. But I don't know about a 20-year-old who hasn't played all that much shortstop in the minors, and it's not even that. It's more of him not getting a chance to play regularly. I don't think that would be good for him. I really don't. So, and I don't know if that would be good for the Cardinals necessarily because I'm not saying what he's doing is bogus. I'm really, really, really not. But there's a difference between dominating the Grapefruit League and then you go to the big leagues for the first time, and it's tougher challenge. I think Jordan Walker's kind of shown that he can handle any kind of pitching. Mason Wynn, I think. Because I've squawked about this. I get tired of him, and I see this more nationally among the prospect pundits. They're talking about his dynamic defense and arm. Scouts aren't sure, whether he'll be able to hit. It's like, what? Come on now. But I would put it this way. I don't think there's a question about his ability to hit in the major leagues. I just don't know that the opportune time is from day one of the 2023 season. That's all I'm saying. And there is a distinction. If he goes down to Memphis and just tears it up, rips it apart, I don't see how you can hold him back. At some point down the road, if they don't take him out of Jupiter and put him in a real Cardinals uniform for opening day, which I would highly doubt unless there's some injuries. But it's exciting, and it's also exciting to know that they have two guys like this of 20 years old, Walker and Wynn, with such amazing talent. And maturity. Sorry, Jim.
No, I interrupted. My bad. One more thought on the Wynn game from today. He did make a over-the-shoulder catch going out into short center field. So I saw his defense a little bit, plus his double play ability. It's just another check mark. You go, okay, check. He looks like he can handle himself defensively without any issues. So I like you. Well, we'll see. Now, it's a crowded area up there in the middle of that infield. Yeah. It's hard to find an area, but all it takes is one injury, and somebody grabs it and takes it and runs with it. We'll see.
I didn't see the game, but it was a good day for the Gorman haters. You better trade this guy for a relief pitcher or something, whatever it is they're proposing. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
He played third today, by the way.
He did?
Yes, made a nice play. I was shocked that he was there. I even had to take a double take, Barney. I was like, whoa, they got him playing third. Okay.
Well, you know what? That's really smart. I never understood why it was like – well, I understood why it was necessary to move him to second. They have a guy named Arenado at third. But I never understood why they didn't work on getting more versatility or having the capability of versatility from him. Third's his natural position, so why not give him chances to play third base just to keep that skill sharp? Because I understand that he was a pretty good third baseman in the minors. I don't understand why, for example, maybe you can't do too much at once, but you don't have him working at first base down in spring training. Maybe not in games, but just working on it. If you're willing to put Yepes at first base or third base or left field or right field, couldn't Gorman do the same? Gorman's got pretty good athleticism, real good actually. So they have too many outfielders. My point is not to say, well, he could be a starting outfielder. I'm not saying that at all. But the manager loves flexibility, versatility, likes to be able to maneuver pieces all over the chessboard. So, as part of just the daily routine, it makes sense to have Gorman pick up 2 or 3 different types of gloves and just work on playing some corner outfield, work on playing some third, work on playing some first. Again, I'm not saying he's game ready for all this stuff, but why not get that started a little bit? I don't know. Maybe he needs to just focus on his hitting, and since he has played third base, I'm sure it's still pretty natural for him. But that's good to see. I like that. But he did strike out 3 times this spring, and he's having a good spring overall. Still has a 286 average, 375 on base, 571 slug. See, Jim, you scrutinize all these things. I'm missing them all.
Well, I was lucky enough to catch some of the game today. That's the only reason. One more thought on our Jake Woodford conversation. The lineup today he faced was the big boy lineup. It was LeMahieu, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Donaldson, Bader, Hicks, Trevino, and Kiner Falefa. And he mowed through them. And I'm like, well, what more do you need? You know,
I don't know. The Cardinals are. I don't mean literally when I say this, but when it comes to different players, they're really quite insane. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. This constant, elevating and propping up and overpraising pitchers who don't quite warrant it, right?
Yes.
And just never stopping on that, hyping guys who are just not as good as they say or think. And then you have a guy who has actually done it in the big leagues. And like to my friend Jim Hewer's point, he comes out today, and you're right, against the A Yankees lineup, the one that's going to just like tear up the American League again this year. And they hardly put a mitt on him. 4 hits, four innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Now, he's not a strikeout pitcher, but so what? Not everybody can be. What we want to see are pitchers that are capable of a high strikeout rate coming through with that. That's all. Or a guy like Dakota Hudson who throws 94. Why doesn't he strike out people? See, I've never viewed Woodford as a strikeout guy. But listen, man, this ain't a cookie cutter thing. Not all pitchers are the same. As Jim Hewer says all the time, the only thing Woodford does is get outs. Out after out after out after out. And it's just hysterical to me that the analytics department, apparently feeds sort of their the analytics department, I think, with the Cardinals is pretty good, real good. But they're like everybody else. They have a blind spot, too. So at some point, and I really, really like and respect Ali Marmol, but at some point, doesn't the manager, when he gets that latest printout about how Jake Woodford, and listen, man, I'm exaggerating on purpose. You get that latest readout about all of Jake Woodford's flaws. Is there a point in time when Ali Marmol ceremoniously rips it up and throws it in the trash can in his office? Apparently not.
I wonder.
Oh man, it's great stuff. The other thing, 2 other things about today's game that are notable, and I sincerely appreciate Jim Hewer throwing some other things in that I wasn't on top of. If we are taking this thing seriously as a competition, or as we're trying to process through the outfield competition, let's say, Juan Yepes, even though he played first base today, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. He hadn't done much this spring so far, and it is spring, but still, he's a younger guy. He's in a competition. He tailed off, other than that wonderful home run against the Phillies in the playoffs. But he really did tail off last season once you got into the middle of June or so, maybe even a little sooner. Yeah, middle to late June. So he has a lot to prove, and that's what I was talking about yesterday. The standards are not the same for all players. Like veteran pitcher like Jordan Montgomery, like I mentioned, he comes out first spring training start. He's trying to get a handle on the pitch clock. He was rushing things a little bit. And, he got smacked around. Well, so what? Proceed. Who cares? Mm-hmm. Because we know what he can do. And there's other examples, I mean, no one's going to start bawling if, some of their established hitters don't put up big numbers in spring training. But some guys have to prove themselves. They have to make a case. They have to show that they deserve a job or more playing time than that guy over there, that guy over there, that guy over there. And I think Yepes is certainly among that group. So this spring he's hitting 240. He's got a 296 on base percentage, and he's only slugging 280. He's got to pick it up here now, because it really is a competition. I sneered at and we'll get to another competition here in a minute. I sneered at this whole thing. Oh man, we're gonna have it's just training camp, nothing but competition. No, it's not. Competition's in the outfield. That's it. Because if it was a competition, they still wouldn't be chatting up Paul DeYoung, for example. So it's not an overall competition. Oh yeah, like every spring training camp in the history of the world, those final 2 or 3 spots in the bullpen are up for grabs. That's the same everywhere, every year, all the time. So that really doesn't make it a competition. That makes it business as usual. But there is a competition in the outfield. So it's up to Yepes and every other guy to do their best and to show that they deserve, playing time and they deserve a big league uniform. Moises Gomez, he struck out 3 times today. Another guy on the periphery of the competition in the outfield, led the minors last year in home runs and slugging percentage. 0 for 4 today, 3 strikeouts on the preseason. I'll say it's got his batting average is fine, hitting .261, but his slugging percentage is .304. That's terrible. So he's another one that if he truly is going to compete for a spot, he better pick it up. Now, if you want to talk about a competition, oh brother. Let's talk about a competition.
I think I know where you're going.
So, I read online, it was, I don't know, late last night or something, and I'm not knocking the reporters at all. My good friends, John Denton, Derek Gould. But they're both writing about this big competition between Andrew Kisner and Tres Barrera as the number 2 catcher. And, my first, I honestly mean this. My first reaction was to actually laugh. And again, I'm not saying that it's wrong for the scribes to play it up because Ali Marmol and others were playing it up. And so if the Cardinals are telling you, oh yeah, this is competition. We're not handing anybody a job. They got to go get it. And my assumption was because Andrew Kisner's a nice guy and the pitchers like him. And it's kind of easy to keep him around, even though he's one of the worst catchers in baseball in terms of pitch framing. He's okay in blocking, but offensively, he's like a lost cause. But it doesn't matter. Cardinals, they like them nice boys on the team. So they always settle for mediocrity at worst when they have Molina. It was mediocrity or less than that for their backup catchers because Yachty played all the time, so they never had to make it a priority or whatever. I get it. And I know every now and then, I thought, I don't even know what his numbers were, but I thought Matt Wieters was a nice backup for Molina. Proven guy, a total pro, a lot of respect in the clubhouse. But Kisner's never done anything in the major leagues, and he's been with the Cardinals now for parts of 5 seasons. In the last 2 seasons, he played a lot. I mean, a lot. And he had his chance, and he didn't do much with it. He, in fact, last 2 seasons, if we use OPS plus 100 as average, last 2 seasons combined, Kisner had an OPS plus of 64, which means he's been 36% below average offensively. And again, just absolutely terrible defensively. According to Fielding Bible, over the past 2 seasons, only the past 2 seasons, Kisner's a minus 13 in defensive runs saved. That he's cost his team a lot of runs, and he's cost his pitchers a lot of strike. But Miles Michaelis likes him, so hey, he's Bill Dickey, right? I wanted to go back to the past, way back to the past, right?
Yeah.
Kisner's not Johnny Bench, but hey, he's our Carlton Fisk or something like that. Because Miles Michaelis likes him. And he's a nice feller. Okay. Tres Barrera, the thing about him is he hasn't played that much in the majors. And so there's not much to go on. However, he played like 30 games for the Nationals in 2021, and he actually, for a backup type catcher, he hit pretty well. He hit better than Kisner ever has. But again, we're going on the old proverbial small sample. But he was about 11% above average offensively, and he's a better pitch framer. And I think that Kisner definitely has the edge in terms of throwing out runners. He's got a really good, I'm giving Kisner credit for this, really good caught stealing rate. But Kisner also gets a lot of help, as every catcher, even Molina to an extent, even to a little extent. Cardinals pitchers have been for quite a while among the very best set of pitchers in the majors at keeping runners in check. That's an interesting thing about the new pitch clock. Will they still be effective as that? Because they won't be able to just kind of hold the ball, throw off the guy on first base, thinking about stealing, kind of messing up his timing. He can't get a good read when the pitch is going to be delivered. So I think Kisner, and I'm not trying to discredit him, but I think he's gotten a lot of help. But for his part, he's done a good job of throwing runners out. But okay, so I've laid it all out for you in this exciting competition. Is there really much of a difference between? I mean, yeah, there are differences because I just pointed them out. But when you have Wilson Contreras, who, by the way, in his 5 full seasons has averaged only 92 starts a year catcher, I'm glad they signed him because they need a huge upgrade at catcher offensively. And Contreras can also be part of the designated hitter system. And his numbers are really good as a DH. But I think Contreras is determined to start more games, and he wants to prove himself. So I don't know how many games he'll start this year. But it's not going to be like all those years where Molina started just about all the time. So that makes the backup catcher more important. It really does. Because if you give the manager more freedom, wiggle room to use Contreras as DH, maybe put a max type of lineup together and all this stuff. So doesn't it make sense to try to go for a legitimate upgrade at backup catcher? You know what I'm saying? So you got one really mediocre guy as your backup catcher for the last 2-3 seasons. And I know Kisner does some stuff with on our station on Monday mornings. Is it Jim? Or you have to
Tuesday mornings with the guys from Hot Take Central.
Yeah, Hot Take Central Tuesday mornings. I appreciate the guy that he is. I love the fact that he joins us on our station. But if we're going to evaluate this honestly and just concentrate on the baseball part, I think I'm being polite when I say mediocre. I mean, and I got the facts to back that up. I'm not trying to be mean. I thought Kisner would be really, really good, and he's not anything close to being really, really good. And I think I'm being kind to just say mediocre. But there's a chance maybe Barrera's got more there, and it'll come out if he gets a chance to play. Maybe he has more potential. We haven't had a chance to see it because he hadn't played all that much in the majors. So, but the point is, even if Barrera wins this backup job, and frankly, I'm highly skeptical, how much of an upgrade, if any, is it over the Kisner that we've seen the last couple of years? Is it an upgrade? No, to me, it's more the same. So what's the point of going through this dog and pony show, right? This is a competition. Kisner got to earn it. Really? Let's see about that.
Yeah,
it just bothers me, man. And by the way, where's Ivan Herrera?
Thank you. Yes.
Keith Law wrote him up, and I trust Keith Law. He said, hey, this guy could be starting for a number of teams this year. And, he's only 23. He's only going to get better. But right now, he's good enough to start in the major leagues for somebody. So I can only conclude that the Cardinals are holding him back to trade him. And, I see that. But can we be honest and say, A, maybe the Cardinals have overrated him as well, although Keith Law hasn't, or because he's rated him very highly, so he thinks he's legit. But I don't know. If you love this guy, this catcher so much, wouldn't you at least start to groom him as a number 2 catcher who can really help you? And first of all, he's got to play in the majors to get to that point. And they panicked with him last year, and he wasn't impressive, but didn't seem like he got a fair shot. I just don't get it. I mean, at what point do you start to groom him to be your number two catcher? But he sure as hell ain't any worse than Kisner or Barrera. Although I give Barrera a little asterisk because, again, he hadn't played enough for us to make a full judgment, not in the majors. Again, there are certain things about the Cardinals that they're very, very, very smart out. A lot of things. There are a few things like the Jake Woodford situation, and I'll throw this one in there, where it compels us to question their sanity a little bit. Like if you're making this big competition, and I'm being sarcastic, how's it a competition is when the guy you're bringing in to challenge Kisner is the epitome of the phrase low-hanging fruit? Is that really a competition? If it is, it's kind of a joke of a competition. It's kind of sad, actually.
If you want your backup guy to go 55, 60 games, to me it would seem like the perfect opportunity to bring the kid up, Herrera, and let him go and let him work with Contreras and work in that environment. I'm not getting what's going on there with him. There's something that they don't like, but again, we're back to what don't they like? Why don't they like him? He should deserve that opportunity. And if he bats 170 doing it, well, guess what? That's what the other guys are going to do. So give the young kid a shot to at least learn up here and fail a little bit. Let's find something out about him. It just seems like he would be ready or close to ready at this point, as much as they've talked about him, Bertie.
So maybe they're thinking, hey, Carson Kelly was the centerpiece of the deal that got us Paul Goldschmidt. And so we can do that again with Herrera. Hey, Keith Law, thanks for writing all those great things about him, So maybe they're thinking the best way to plan for that is to keep him in the minors where he can maybe start building up some numbers, gain experience, and, frankly, maybe entice trade partners where they're just excited about the possibility of getting him. Because the interesting thing about Carson Kelly, he never had, is 2016, 17, and 18. He never had more than 75 plate appearances in any of those years. But yet the Diamondbacks really, really coveted him. So I don't know what that means in terms of Ivan Herrera, but I'm just saying the Cardinals are making a big deal. They're like really proud. Hey, we having a competition. Is it really a competition? If it is, that's sad. Because either way, whoever is listed as the number two catcher when the real baseball begins, either way, it's not an upgrade over what they've been doing with that spot, number two catcher, for a while, long while. So what's the point? More of the same. What's the point? See, they always have chances to get better, and they take a pass. It's frustrating. It's just frustrating. But anyway, Barrera played today, caught today, 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. He has flashed a little power. We'll see how it plays out. I don't wish any of these guys bad luck or anything like that. This is all about the Cardinals' approach to this job. And in a year where I think they should probably prioritize it a little more, I don't think they are. So I expect Kisner to win because everybody likes him, and I'm not being sarcastic. He's a comfortable fit with this staff. He's the guy that they know rather than the guy they don't know. And, I would really be surprised if Kisner doesn't stay in place as the number two catcher. And if he does, wish him nothing but the best, and including I know there's more offensive ability there. I know that he can do better because he did it in college. He did it in the minors, and I'm a little mystified why that part of his game hasn't ignited, and maybe this would be the year. So, see, I'm harsh in some of my reviews of his work, but I don't want to act like there's no chance he can't do better because I think that there is. So we'll see.
If he hits a little bit more, I'll be like, okay, good. That's what you got. That's your backup catcher. I'd be okay with that.
Right.
I can live with a little deficiency, especially if the guys love throwing to him. There is part of that. But just a little more pump from the bat would be great.